How's it going, everyone? Mask here, back with some Black Desert Mobile. Today's gonna be all about merchantry. Now, I've been putting this video off for a long time, and it's a long time coming. A proper guide on merchantry. And I have to tell you, before you go anywhere, this is the most important content in the game. It takes a lot of work, but if you put the work into this, it just starts paying you back more and more and more. It is like a snowball rolling down a hill. Honestly, the amount of rewards available in merchantry can take any free-to-play player and really put them on the map outside of like crazy red gear RNG. But it's just so important, I can't even begin to stress it. Now, today's video is going to be video number 1 of what I think is going to be a 3-part series of an in-depth merchantry guide. There's just so much to cover here, and rather than smashing it together in a super long video, I'm gonna break it up. But today we're gonna be looking at the highest level merchantry player I have come across so far. They're almost level 42 in merchantry, and we're gonna be taking a look at what their route is that they do on a daily basis, and I'm gonna commentate over the footage of them going about one of their merchantry sessions and just talking about all the little extra strategies they're using, breaking it down. And then, of course, stay tuned for part 2 and part 3 of this series. Part 2, I'm going to be going over my own merchantry routes and sharing a lot of my own research into merchantry and really min-maxing it, leading into part 3, where it's really just an expansion on exactly that. But hope you enjoyed today's video. Now, this might have been a little bit of a rough cut because I recorded this at the end of everything, but I'm warning you, this is a long video. But I honestly have put every ounce of merchantry knowledge, min-maxing, hours and hours of research, tearing apart every part of merchantry to fit it in this video and make this truly an in-depth guide to merchantry. And I promise you, this is the most profitable part of the game. It's going to scale with us as we play it. When we're all sitting at 10,000, 15,000 CP, months and months and months from now, merchantry will still be there, still just as relevant, and it's a snowball. The more you do it, the better you get at it, the higher your levels are, and the more rewards you get from doing it. Watch this video. It's going to increase your merchantry efficiency by so much, like potentially over 100%. There's so many things that you might be doing wrong from a min-max perspective about merchantry, but I hope you enjoy it. Thanks as always for checking these out. Honestly, just throw this up while you're doing your own merchantry and let it play. Watch it on the side, play along, do your merchantry while you're watching the video, get through it, and you're going to be a merchantry master. We're going to start today's video off by I'm actually going to voice over a recording from probably one of the highest level merchantry players I have ever seen. I'll let you find out what level they actually achieve in this short clip here today, and we're going to take a look at some of the stockpiled rewards. This player's also a hoarder after my own heart, and has hoarded a lot of the materials from merchantry since the start. Now, this is a video of my friend Liger doing his merchantry. I asked him to record a session from the day, and one thing you actually just saw there, this is a really elite trick. Actually, there's a lot of things going on here that I really want to point out. The second he loaded into the map, he selected his next town as his destination, as you can see here at the top right. What that does is when he gets to that menu that you just saw him open and close extremely quick, it will have a flag on it that actually tells you there is things for sale to go to Western Guard Camp. And now he's doing, this is called a scout. He leaves Velia, he looks, and he's asking himself, do I feel like it is worth it to do this run? If there is extremely few number of events to run, he's actually just going to go back into Velia and full reset and not go for the run. This one in particular isn't one of the best runs for him. He did, however, check, and if we back this video up to the very beginning, there's a few things right here I really want to point out. He's bringing in 100 trade items, which means he's bought them to boost rapport at towns, stock them up in storage, and he's bringing in 100 of, and the trick here is 100 items that are not sold at the towns that your route is on, and we'll get to routes in just a little bit. But as you can see, he checked, and because if you look right here, it shows 4 million in Balanos, in Velia, which means the 100 carpets that he brought in can be sold in Velia. And your merchantry experience only comes from selling items. You build rapport by buying items. As you can see, his rapport is already maxed out at 200, so that's not really a concern of his anymore. But you build rapport from selling items. That's where all you build the merchantry experience from selling items. So it really, buying items from these towns isn't really his main focus now that the rapport is all built up. But he scouted this run, and he's going to say, you know what, I will do this run. And now he's going to make his way between these two maps. He planned his route. He's going to bounce between all of the events in an efficient manner. You just sort of have to learn what distance is worth going for which events. Now, I'll pause it right here and just talk about experience. Actually, we can let it play. It's fine. And talk about experience from events. I did a ton of calculation myself in between different levels and broke down the experience gain from every single type of event, so you can use it to help judge how far you want to travel for any given event. And that is white events. Let's call a white event worth 1. So you have white events at 1, green events are worth 2 times white events. Blue events are worth 3 times that of a white event. A purple event is worth 4 times that of a white event. So pretty standard linear increase in experience. But an orange event is actually worth 6 times that of a white event. So this orange ones are worth that much extra to go out of your way to get. So here we go. We've made it back to Western Guard Camp. We didn't have anything to sell because we didn't have anything to sell because we didn't actually buy anything. So this is not a run that I personally have taken. It's all about time management. One thing Liger here could have done when he was in Velia is, because they didn't sell anything to bring to Western Guard Camp, could have just exited and come back in. But because Velia, he could sell his 100 carpets that he brought with him in Velia, he just felt that much more inclined to make the trip to Western Guard Camp. You hit up your events on the way, which is great, and then make your trip back so you can sell those carpets back in Velia. Now, he's doing his exchanges, as you can see. He's got 200 rapport, which means he can buy all the items that appear in exchange. So he's picking up some Caphras dust, which is fantastic. It's a source of Caphras dust outside of the runes, and at 227,000 materials, he will be able to afford anything that ever pops up in this shop, because you print materials while doing this. As you can see, he also bought the log. Doesn't buy the black crystals, as they're just extremely overpriced. Now, one thing he did not do is reset his destination, I believe, back to Velia, because when he hits buy here, none of these tabs are showing, and he's checking them manually. And he manually bought Decorative Steel Sword here. So that's because he's going to bring that back to Velia. And now he actually managed to buy 2 items from Velia. Splendid Wagon Badge and Decorative Steel Sword here. So he's got a full wagon load making it back to Velia. That is going to be I think it's like 4, 8, close to a 10, maybe 10, 11 million silver haul on his way back to Velia here. But at the top right, unit value change in 18 seconds. If you look back at the beginning of the video, he got lucky here. And sometimes when you load in, the trade value is about 2.5 minutes away from resetting. So because it's 2.5 minutes away here, when he actually makes it to Western Guard Camp in time, he was able to wait 2, 1. He's waiting for this reset, because when that reset just happened, every single event in this open space here has reset. So here he is going to plan his route. You can kind of see how in his mind he's going to loop back here, because it's worth grabbing this little cluster that's worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events. I measure my routes by a value of white nodes, basically. So this was like a cluster of 6. Now if we back it up to his view here, let's count how many points. So when I'm planning my routes and whether or not it's gonna be worth it, I give everything a point value. So this is a 6 cluster. This is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe 15. We'll see if he thinks it's worth it veering for this camp. And you could also potentially do a little detour for this blue guy here and bump that to 18. 18 event points. 18 points worth of events. Now this isn't actually the number given at the end. Don't forget, when you exit merchantry, that menu where it's like A, S, 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 B, number 1, that is complete bait. Do not let that tell you whether or not you're doing a good job at merchantry. It is so fake. It is totally bait, and we'll get to that when we get there. But the distribution of those event points for the post-merchantry summary report card, let's call it, are different than the experience breakdown. The experience is the only one that really matters to me. So he actually has a potential really good route here, and let's see how it plays out. One thing I'm interested in is his total food spent on this route. So we're going to go back into town, 3,420. I'm actually going to jot that down on the right side here. 3,420 food. Personally, for me, this is not the route that I like to run on merchantry, and I will get to my route. As far as I'm concerned, there are approximately 3 viable routes to constantly run. This is the one that's the shortest distance between 2 towns. So when you have the rapport maxed out from these 2 towns, you're absolutely maximizing the number of times you can exchange. And I'll get to, after this route here, I'll show you his stockpile of merchantry related things that are saved up, and we'll do some quick math to just even start to grasp how crazy that is. And look, let's not forget, because he actually has 3 over level 100 on all the skills, he's getting 3 rewards per event, which is absolutely insane. Just take a look at the resources that we're gathering at every one of these events now. 1, 2, 3. 3 treasure chests worth. That's insane. Waiting for this last mob here to die. 3 treasure chests again. Now, it's only going to be white and green nodes for the rest, so chances are he's not going to loot any of these specialty chests, which is fine. There's another 3. That was 900 logs worth, which is just insane, the amount of resources that is. There's a reason he has over 200,000 of like every single resource in the game. Merchantry is crazy. Level 41, 99% to level 42. He's going to level up. That is pretty crazy too. Any second now he could ding level 42. Let's go ahead and pick the brain of this merchantry fanatic here. I'm interested to see if he veers for the node at the top left, and whether or not he does a little detour for the blue node. Personally, hopefully he zooms out again here. I'd like to see. Nope, he didn't zoom out. I think he minimized his detour actually, and just went in sort of more of a straight path between towns. So I'm interested in when he gets into town. Here he is in town now. 3,420 food became 1,625. So he spent 1,800 food to travel between both towns. But you now also have to take in consideration the purchasing of food that is about to happen. So he's selling 1, 2, 3. He sold the giant load of materials that he brought with him. He's going to go to exchange and buy out all the useful things in the exchange tab, which are any and every resource listed, because it's always a profit of resources. Doesn't matter what the resource is, you want to buy every resource from the shop every time. And what I mean by that is actually rugged boulders, pale softwood, copper ore, these kind of things. You want to always buy them out of your exchange shop. The other things that are worth it: Kafra dust, Tower of Trials passes, and the crystal boxes. Those are some of my favorite things, the most worth value-wise things to buy. Good armor blackstones. The blackstones, the 4 stones, none of these are really worth it. They're never a good price. So he's going to pass on the good armor blackstones here, buy his rugged boulders, buy out. Actually, did he skip on the pale softwood? It is a plus 4%, but it looks like he skips on it. For me, that's still a profit of 200 resources, but you never know. There's always something like, I'm trying to accomplish this upgrade, so I'm going to skip out on buying A or B. But here we go. He's going to pick up the 500 food, which is going to bring his total food spent traveling from one town to another actually down to an insane 1,300 food. And this is where Velia to Western Guard Camp starts to just be absolutely insane. This is the efficiency you can achieve traveling between these 2 towns, and the goal of which is to just maximize the number of times you get to exchange. So he's at 2,125 food now. if he needs to return to the merchant tree map and sort of just fool around and burn the rest of this food, because if you're below 10% of your max capacity, you're not allowed to re-enter. So he'll just pick a event cluster like he has. He's going to run up to the corner now and burn the rest of his food, just hitting up as many events as he can. So he's going to just burn through here, and as you can see, he's now hit level 42. And this is where we're going to get to the exit screen. This screen means absolutely nothing. Do not let this tell you whether or not you're doing a good job at merchantry. You just watched who I will literally call one of the best merchantry players in the game, and he gets C's, B's, and C's. And this was a fantastic run. What is important are these chests down here, which you're going to get from maximizing the number of events that you're doing. Total soul, this is just for personal profit. That's fantastic. And he's gonna show off his worker levels here because I asked him to. So let's just take a look at these crazy levels. His 4 escorts in the bottom right. Level 113s, 114s, 112s. He's almost at level 100 on each one for this searching, which is where you're just searching up a treasure chest. When he does, then he's going to be getting triple loot from the treasure chests. He's level 113. When he gets to level 150 on every single worker, that's when he'll start getting quadruple loot from every single event, which is actually insane. The amount of resources, extra resources that actually amounts to for you is out of this world. All right, now this let's call this a little bit of a flex screen here. Actually, I should zoom out. There we are. 921 of the big chests saved up, 62 bonus towers of trials passes, and this individual runs approximately 5 to 7 tower of trials every single day as well. He's just been trying to burn through this stack to actually turn that into resources itself. This is 64 crystal crates, and he just opened up 110 of them last week for me to do some odd testing. Either shiny chest 2,344 and 48 boss loot chests. And this number is just disgusting, the amount of things he saved up down here as well. Let's just take a look at the Tower of Trials passes, and he's definitely net at least 100 of them in total since he started doing this. So if we take a look at the Tower of Trials, and you just it's harder to see the resources, but actually when I click complete, this is the resources you can look at, and all you have to do is multiply this page that we are currently looking at by 10, or by 100, and when you do that, that's the amount of resources he has amassed just from exchanging at the towns for the Tower of Trials passes, which is insane. This would be 400 million worth of this skill book alone. It's 12,000 good blackstones. Actually, this is not much because 100 is only 3,000 alchemy shards, but 10,000 boss stamps. That's no joke at all. 4.5 thousand tablets for your ancient ruins. This just translates into so much more, and this is a tiny little fraction of what he is profiting from merchantry. Don't forget that as well. A tiny little fraction. And that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. This was part 1 of a 3-part series to an in-depth guide of merchantry. We followed Liger today, who is 42 now in merchantry, which is so crazy. I looked at what he does on a daily basis, and he really got some insight on some really good tips to min-maxing your merchantry. Stay tuned though. Parts 2 and 3 are going to be me showing all of the min-maxing and research I've done on merchantry, and believe it or not, even building on Liger's strategy in ways I think would actually have out-leveled him if I were able to stay as committed as he has. Number 1, doing it every day is the key. Staying committed and actually doing your merchantry every single day. That's more important than all this min-maxing stuff. The min-max comes in after you manage to just do it every day. The discipline to get it done comes first, absolutely. But thank you so much for watching as always. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. But until then, smash that subscribe button and stay classy. Say, stay classy.